We need airport police to meet the gate. First class, seat 1A, minor, possible fraudulent boarding. The flight attendant's voice echoed down the aisle, loud enough for the whole cabin to hear. 12-year-old Eliza Monroe froze in her seat. Every pair of eyes in first class turned to her. The businessman in 1B pulled his laptop closer. A woman 2 rows back raised an eyebrow, and the man across the aisle actually stood up to get a better look. Eliza didn't move. She couldn't. Her boarding pass still sat neatly folded on the tray. Her tiny backpack was zipped tight at her feet. She'd done everything right. Checked in early, followed instructions, even thanked the gate agent. But none of it mattered now. Tell us where you're watching from, because they had no idea who her mother really was. And in less than 30 minutes, that ignorance would cost the airline $1.2 billion. 14 minutes earlier, Eliza had walked onto the plane with quiet excitement bubbling in her chest. Her first solo international flight. Her first time in first class. A reward, her mom said, for making the honor list and winning the school's violin scholarship. She'd worn her best outfit, navy cardigan, pleated skirt, polished flats. She smiled at the flight attendant at the door. The woman didn't smile back. Instead, she stared. As Eliza approached seat 1A and began to sit, the attendant stepped in front of her. "Excuse me, sweetie," the woman said curtly. "Are you lost?" Eliza blinked. "No, ma'am. This is my seat." The attendant frowned, snatched the boarding pass from her hand, and scanned it like it was counterfeit money. "Who booked this ticket?" "My mom. She used our family account. It's a birthday gift." The woman's eyes narrowed. "First-class tickets aren't toys, young lady. Are you sure this isn't someone else's pass?" "It's mine," Eliza whispered, heart pounding. "I have my ID. You can sit right there until the airport police arrive, but don't touch anything." Eliza felt the warmth drain from her face. Her fingers trembled as she slowly reached into her pocket and typed, "Mom. They say I don't belong here. They called the police. I'm scared. Please come." What no one in that cabin knew was that her mother could ground the entire airline, and in just a few minutes, she would. 14 minutes earlier, Eliza Monroe stepped onto the plane with a nervous smile and a folded ticket in hand. She'd practiced this moment in front of the mirror. Smile, make eye contact, speak clearly. It was her first time flying alone, and she wanted to do everything right. Her mother had called it a trust flight, a small test of independence before she started high school next fall. First class had always seemed like a dream. The seats looked like movie sets. The carpet was thicker. Even the air smelled cleaner. Her fingers clutched her little leather backpack, the one her mom gave her after she got into the international violin program. That same backpack held her passport, student ID, travel letter, and the boarding pass her mom booked through their family's priority access account. Everything was in order. Eliza walked down the jet bridge with the kind of quiet confidence only a kid raised right can carry. Her mom had reminded her, "Be polite, be calm, and if anyone gives you a hard time, let the truth speak for itself." She had no idea that within 15 minutes, the truth wouldn't matter. As she reached seat 1A, she paused for a moment, took it all in. Soft leather, fold-out screen. Her own little world. This wasn't just a trip, it was a moment, a rite of passage. She placed her backpack at her feet, sat down gently, and clicked her seatbelt. That's when the flight attendant appeared. The woman didn't say hello, didn't ask if she needed help, just a cold glance, a raised eyebrow, and then came the question, "Are you sure this is your seat?" Eliza's breath caught. Just like that, the moment faded. She didn't know yet, but she was about to learn one of the hardest lessons of growing up. Some people don't need a reason to question you, just a face they don't expect to see where you are. And once that doubt starts, it spreads like wildfire. The woman's voice was sweet, but her tone was anything but. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" Eliza looked up. The flight attendant, tall, stiff, perfectly put together, was staring at her like she'd wandered in from the wrong side of the airport. "No, ma'am. I'm in 1A." The woman didn't smile, She reached down, snatched the boarding pass from Eliza's tray table, and held it up to the light like she was checking for a forgery. "This is first class," she said flatly. "I know," Eliza replied, trying to sound confident. "My mom booked it. She used our priority access code." The attendant's brow lifted. "And she just sent you up here all by yourself?" "Yes, ma'am." "Well," the woman said, folding the pass in half, "I've been working first class for 19 years, and I've never had a child board without an escort or documentation." "I have documentation," Eliza said quickly, reaching for her bag. "It's all here." But the attendant stepped back, hand up like Eliza was reaching for something dangerous. "We'll let security sort this out." Passengers nearby started whispering. A man across the aisle shifted in his seat. Another woman in 1C stared, her lips pressed into a disapproving line. Eliza felt her throat close. She hadn't raised her voice. She hadn't done anything wrong. But suddenly she didn't look like a passenger. She looked like a problem. The flight attendant turned, speaking into the cabin phone. "Yes, gate security, please. Possible fraudulent boarding in first class. Minor. Thank you." The line went dead. Eliza sat still. Everything around her, the soft leather seat, the folded blanket, the sparkling water on the tray, felt suddenly foreign, like they didn't belong to her. Or worse, like she didn't belong to them. What she didn't know was that 400 miles away, her mother's phone had just lit up, and someone was about to find out exactly who they just humiliated. 400 miles away, in a conference room lined with glass and steel, Dr. Evelyn Monroe didn't hear the ding. She felt it. Her phone had been on silent, face down on the table. But when it lit up, something in her shifted. She was in the middle of a high-level meeting with the FAA and European regulators, reviewing flight safety compliance metrics for summer operations. Nothing unusual, until she flipped the phone. One new message: Eliza. She tapped it open. "Mom, they say I don't belong here. They called the police. I'm scared. Please come." Her breath caught. Not a sound in the room changed, but the temperature around her seemed to drop 10 degrees. Evelyn Monroe had spent her entire life in aviation. She knew how fast things could spiral and how quietly power worked when used correctly. She stood. "Gentlemen," she said calmly, folding her tablet and tucking the phone into her blazer, "you'll have to excuse me." "Is something wrong, Dr. Monroe?" one of the FAA leads asked. "Something very wrong," she replied, her voice like glass. "And someone just made a $1.2 billion mistake." The room froze. She didn't explain. She didn't need to. With one hand, she tapped a secure app and logged into the GASP compliance console. She scanned the current flight registry, found the code for SkyNova Flight 349, and flagged it. Status changed. Under emergency review. In less than 3 minutes, every connected system across 27 international airports was pinged. Flight 349, first-class ethics violation reported. Investigative hold issued. Stand by. Outside, her driver was already pulling up the car. Back inside the plane, Eliza sat with her hands folded in her lap, holding back tears, unaware that her mother's quiet fingers had just put an entire airline on pause. She wasn't alone anymore, and someone, several someones, were about to find out what real turbulence felt like. When Dr. Evelyn Monroe stepped into the Geneva airport terminal, no one recognized her at first. She wasn't in uniform. No badge, no entourage. Just a woman in a tailored navy suit, heels clicking softly across the polished floor, eyes sharp as glass. But if you worked in aviation long enough, especially in regulation, you'd know the face. And, more importantly, the silence that came with it. Her security clearance got her through the restricted doors without delay. One scan of her ID and the staff at Gate C3 turned pale. A few even stood up. "I need access to SkyNova Flight 349, first class section," she said, showing her ID. The agent stammered. That flight is already preparing for pushback, ma'am. It's not going anywhere, she replied calmly. You've just received a compliance hold from GASB. Confirm it. The man looked at his monitor, froze, swallowed. Yes, ma'am, hold just came through live. She nodded once. Good. Let them know I'm coming on board. Inside the aircraft, Eliza sat still, hands clasped tightly, trying not to cry. The officer beside her had already arrived, waiting for boarding to complete before questioning the minor. Passengers kept sneaking glances. The flight attendant, Linda, stood off to the side, arms folded, clearly expecting praise for handling the situation. Instead, the main door reopened, and Evelyn walked in. There was no announcement, no introduction, just one woman, tall, composed, lethal in silence. The moment Linda saw her, her confident smirk faltered. Evelyn didn't look at her. She looked straight at her daughter. Eliza, she said softly, come here. The officer stepped forward. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but this passenger is under... Evelyn pulled out her ID. I'm not here as a mother. I'm here as the chair of the Global Aviation Safety Board. Then she turned toward Linda for the first time and said, You detained the wrong child. And the entire plane went still. The moment Evelyn Monroe said, You detained the wrong child, the temperature inside the cabin shifted. Not a scream, not a threat, just 6 words. And somehow, it landed harder than anything loud ever could. The officer blinked, confused. I'm sorry, who exactly? Evelyn handed over her badge. Global Aviation Safety Board, Dr. Evelyn Monroe. Chairwoman, Emergency Access Level, International. He stared at it like it might catch fire. Meanwhile, the flight attendant, Linda, was frozen. She looked from the badge to Eliza, then back to Evelyn. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Evelyn finally turned to her. Is this your doing? Linda tried to find her footing. She didn't look like... no one told us. She was alone, and we thought... You thought a child didn't belong in first class? No, Yes, you did. Evelyn didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She reached into her inner coat pocket and pulled out a card. Heavy, matte black with gold lettering. She placed it on the tray table in front of Linda. Emergency Flight Ethics Inspection. Effective immediately. Linda's hand trembled as she picked it up. The cabin fell into silence. Evelyn turned to Eliza. You okay, honey? Eliza nodded slowly. She didn't understand everything that was happening, but she could feel it. Something huge had just shifted. Evelyn faced the crew. Let me be very clear. This plane doesn't leave the ground until I say so, and given what I just walked into, it might not leave for a while. A whisper moved through the rows like wind. Somewhere in the cockpit, the captain had already received the message. Flight 349 is on compliance hold. Do not taxi. Do not depart. Passengers started murmuring. Some pulled out phones, but no one said a word to Evelyn Monroe. They all just watched, because somehow, without yelling, she'd just taken command of the entire plane. Bring me the footage, Evelyn said. The head purser hesitated. Ma'am, security footage is restricted to, I am the chair of GASB. Your entire fleet operates under the licenses my office reviews annually. Do you really want to finish that sentence? He didn't. 5 minutes later, a portable monitor was rolled into the cabin. Its screen already queued up to the boarding sequence. Passengers were now watching, quietly. Some had moved closer. No one dared leave. The video played. There was Eliza, smiling politely, showing her pass, waiting patiently. And then, Linda, arms crossed, jaw tight, never even looking at Eliza's documentation. No questions, no verification, just immediate suspicion, immediate doubt. Then the call. Gate security, possible fraudulent boarding, minor. When it ended, Evelyn turned toward Linda without a word. She didn't need to say anything, but she did anyway. You skipped protocol. You profiled a child, and you used the word fraud over a seat she had every right to occupy. Linda looked like she was shrinking in place. thought I was protecting the cabin." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "No, you were protecting your assumption." She turned to the officer. "This child is not under investigation. She is the victim of it. You may leave." The officer nodded quickly and backed away. A passenger across the aisle cleared his throat and said softly, "Ma'am, I saw it. Everything. She didn't do a thing wrong." Evelyn nodded once. "Thank you." Then she pulled out her phone. Within seconds, a message was sent to GASB headquarters. Subject: Emergency Ethics Flag, Sky Nova 349. Scope: all first-class crew. Priority review. System-wide compliance audit. Back in Brussels, a red indicator lit up on the GASB dashboard. And in under 12 minutes, 34 flights were placed under temporary review. 3 senior crew members were suspended. Still seated in 1A, Eliza whispered, "Mom, what's happening?" Evelyn rested a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "What's happening," she said, "is called accountability." By the time Eliza was moved to a private area near the front of the plane, the captain had stepped out of the cockpit and was quietly speaking with Evelyn Monroe. No raised voices, no arguments. Just a quiet briefing between two people who understood how serious this had just become. "Ma'am," the captain said, "we've received the hold notice. Flight 349 has been grounded by GASB directive." Evelyn nodded. "And until further notice, all Sky Nova first-class crews are under ethics review, effective immediately." The captain glanced toward the cabin, where his crew stood frozen. "They'll cooperate," he said. "They've seen the footage." Back in the control tower at Geneva International, red lights were beginning to flash across the status board. It wasn't just Flight 349 anymore. As the GASB system-wide ethics audit activated, 27 airports, 3 airline partners, and 34 live flights were suddenly marked for review. Airlines began scrambling to explain delays. Gate agents were asked to identify any underage solo flyers in premium cabins. Supervisors began digging through body cam footage, passenger complaints, and incident reports. And within the first 2 hours, $1.2 billion in high-value routes were flagged as non-compliant pending investigation. It wasn't just a delay anymore. It was a reckoning. Meanwhile, Evelyn was seated beside Eliza, gently brushing a strand of hair behind her daughter's ear. "You're okay now," she said softly. Eliza looked up. "Why are they listening to you?" Evelyn paused, then smiled. "Because this airline's license to fly runs through my office." Eliza blinked. "You mean you're like the boss of the sky?" A soft laugh escaped Evelyn's lips. "Not quite, but close enough when someone messes with my daughter." Eliza sat back, trying to process what was happening. She had gone from being told she didn't belong to watching the woman who raised her freeze the takeoff of an entire airline. It felt surreal, but it also felt right. By the end of the afternoon, news had already begun to leak. Passengers on grounded flights were posting videos. Hashtags were trending, #Flight 349. "She belongs here," #Sky Nova fail. Industry reporters caught wind of the GASB freeze. Within hours, it hit the headlines. GASB grounds dozens of flights amid discrimination allegations. Airline faces global scrutiny after detaining young passenger in first class. One tweet stood out. From a travel blogger on a delayed flight out of Frankfurt. They profiled the wrong kid. Her mom didn't yell. She just pulled the plug on 34 planes. And in boardrooms across the world, executives began whispering a name they hadn't said out loud in years, unless they were afraid. Dr. Evelyn Monroe, the woman who didn't need to shout to bring an industry to its knees. Eliza sat by the window in the private lounge, legs tucked up beneath her, staring out at the quiet runway. The chaos had passed. The cameras were gone. The plane, grounded. She hadn't said much since they'd left the cabin, just nodded when people spoke, just followed when her mom gestured. Now, alone with her thoughts, everything caught up to her at once. "I just wanted to get to London," she whispered to no one. "That's all." Behind her, Evelyn entered with 2 cups of tea. She handed one to Eliza and sat beside her, silent for a moment. "I'm sorry," Eliza finally said. "I didn't mean to cause so much trouble." Evelyn looked over, brows softening. "Sweetheart, you didn't cause trouble. You revealed it. But I could have just moved or explained better. Maybe if I smiled more." "No." The answer was firm, unshakable. "You were polite. You followed the rules. And still, you were treated like a threat. That's not on you." Eliza stared down at her tea. "People looked at me like I didn't belong." Evelyn gently touched her hand. "I built entire safety systems to make sure everyone does belong. But even the best systems fail if people choose to look away." For a long beat, the only sound was the distant hum of planes they weren't on. Then Eliza looked up. "What happens now?" Evelyn smiled. Tired, but proud. "Now, we finish the report. We hold the airline accountable, and maybe we change the way first class sees the next kid walking in alone." Eliza nodded slowly, and for the first time since she boarded that plane, she didn't feel small. She felt seen. By 10:43 the next morning, it was no longer just about Flight 349. It was about the system. At a press conference in Brussels, representatives from GASB, the FAA, and the European Aviation Safety Agency stood side by side in front of a wall of flags. Dr. Evelyn Monroe didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her presence at the center podium said enough. The statement was read by an FAA official. "As of this morning, Skynova Airlines is under joint ethics investigation by GASB and partner regulators in 7 jurisdictions. Flight 349 is the initiating incident. However, further reports suggest systemic patterns involving bias against unaccompanied minors, passengers of color, and individuals perceived to be out of place in premium cabins. Effective immediately, 43 first-class crew members are suspended pending review. 11 routes across Europe, Asia, and North America are frozen due to non-compliance. Estimated financial impact exceeds $1.4 billion in the next 48 hours. Across news networks, headlines flashed. Skynova under global fire. 1.4B freeze after first-class profiling of young passenger. Who is Evelyn Monroe? And why does the airline industry fear her?" Meanwhile, at Skynova's corporate office, panic had fully taken root. The boardroom was silent as the CEO stared at the GASB alert on screen. The words, "ethics violation, system-wide probation," glowed in red. "What does this mean?" a VP asked, voice cracking. "It means," the CEO muttered, "we might lose our ability to operate out of any federal airport in the US or EU if we don't comply." "And the footage? It's already public." Back at the Geneva lounge, Evelyn sat beside Eliza, watching the live stream with the volume low. The reporter was speaking calmly. "Dr. Monroe has declined interviews. However, her office released a statement confirming the creation of a new oversight protocol for airline ethics compliance, including the introduction of mandatory body cam review for first-class crew and AI-assisted passenger interaction monitoring." Eliza blinked. "You made them do all that?" Evelyn turned to her, her voice quiet. "No, sweetie, you did." Eliza shook her head. "But I didn't say anything. I didn't yell. I didn't even stand up for myself." Evelyn smiled. "Exactly. That's what made it so loud." 20 minutes later, a chime rang from Evelyn's phone. Incoming call. White House Ethics Council. She let it ring once, then answered. "This is Monroe." A voice replied on the other end. "Ma'am, the President's aviation liaison is requesting a full briefing, and we'd like your input on drafting what we're calling the Passenger Dignity Framework." Evelyn closed her eyes for just a second. It was happening. Not just headlines, not just suspensions, but reform. Real reform. And it had all started with a little girl in seat 1A who was told she didn't belong. 3 days after Flight 349 was grounded, the airline industry was no longer the same. Inside a sealed conference room in Brussels, 11 airline CEOs sat behind frosted glass, waiting for the document in front of them to be read aloud. The words at the top of the page were simple but heavy. The Passenger Dignity Framework. Below it, a subtitle: Standardizing Respect, Ethics, and Transparency in Premium Flight Service Worldwide. Every executive in that room knew what it meant. If they wanted to keep their flight rights over EU and US skies, they had to sign. At the center of the room sat a single chair, empty, until Dr. Evelyn Monroe entered. She didn't speak until the last page was signed. Then, calmly, she said, "This isn't about one child. It's about thousands who boarded with hope and were met with doubt." No one argued. Back in Geneva, Eliza was sitting in a quiet park just off the terminal. No cameras, no microphones, just her and the wind. She wasn't thinking about news headlines or policy shifts. She was thinking about what it meant to belong, what it meant to walk into a room and not have to prove you should be there. When Evelyn approached, Eliza looked up and asked, "Did they sign it?" Her mother nodded. "Every last one of them." Eliza smiled, then looked away again. "So, I'm just the girl who started it all?" Evelyn knelt beside her. "You didn't start anything, Eliza. You just sat still, while the world finally noticed what still needs to change." She pulled something from her coat pocket and handed it over, a small, laminated copy of the final framework's preamble. Eliza read the first line aloud. "Every passenger has the right to dignity, regardless of age, appearance, or assumptions." She blinked. "Did you write this?" Evelyn shook her head. "You did." Meanwhile, on a screen in Skynova headquarters, stock tickers scrolled downward. The CEO stood facing a board of shareholders asking hard questions. In bold red letters, the new compliance requirement was printed on the wall. "Failure to adopt passenger dignity framework will result in license suspension effective immediately." It wasn't just policy. It was law now. Later that evening, a quiet image surfaced on social media. Eliza, no makeup, no press team, just a kid, was sitting in 1A again. Not on a flight, not in protest, just sitting. A caption underneath, written by an anonymous crew member, read, "She never said a word, but she changed everything." 3 weeks after the flight, Eliza returned to London. No flashing lights, no press. Just her and Evelyn walking through the airport, hand in hand. This time, no one stopped her. No one questioned her. No one called for security. She boarded, sat down in 1A, buckled in, and waited. A flight attendant approached her row, nervous, clearly recognizing her. "Miss Monroe," she said gently, "can I offer you something before we take off?" Eliza smiled. "No, thank you. I'm good." The attendant paused. "Just wanted to say, we've had 3 weeks of new training. Because of you." Eliza didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. That was enough. As the plane lifted off the runway, Evelyn glanced over. Her daughter was gazing out the window, calm. The silence between them was warm this time. No tension, no fear, just peace. "Mom?" "Yes, sweetheart?" "Do you think people really changed?" Evelyn thought for a second. "I think systems changed, and sometimes that's what forces people to catch up." Eliza nodded, satisfied with that. By the time the plane landed, news had broken that 19 other airlines had preemptively signed the Passenger Dignity Framework. A ripple effect had begun. Flight crew evaluations now included anonymous passenger feedback. First-class access protocols were rebuilt to prevent racial or class-based profiling. GASB's new AI tool, Horizon Review, flagged 230 past incidents in under 48 hours. But none of that was what Eliza remembered. What she remembered was one look. The look Linda gave her, sharp, dismissive, certain that Eliza didn't belong. That look had launched an entire reform. Weeks later, a photo of Eliza quietly attending a GASB youth roundtable went viral. She wasn't speaking, just listening. But the caption hit a nerve across social media. "Some kids make noise, others just sit still and move the world." Back in New York, Evelyn received a letter on formal letterhead. "Office of the President. Civil Ethics Commission. Inside, an invitation. Dr. Monroe, in light of recent events and your leadership in aviation reform, the White House requests your advisory input on the National Ethics Integration Initiative, expanding beyond aviation into public education, transportation, and finance. Evelyn read it once, then again, then folded it and handed it to Eliza. Want to come to DC with me? Eliza raised an eyebrow. Do they have tea? Evelyn laughed. I'll make sure they do. And that's how it ended. No viral rant, no revenge, no shouting match in an airplane aisle. Just a girl in seat 1A and a mother who knew the power of calm and consequence. What did you think about how Eliza changed an entire industry without raising her voice? Have you ever been judged unfairly just by the way you looked? Share your story in the comments below. We read every single one, and if you believe that silence can be powerful too, type "She belonged there" in the comments. Thanks for watching all the way through. Don't forget to follow Telltales for more powerful stories just like this one.